Welcome Bogsis to the podcast. one repeat
aggressive एकदम start लिया
नहीं
तूने
था।
शुरू ही यार spoken में क्या हमें time लगेगा
कोई नहीं ठीक है।
अरे lights camera action
Welcome Bogsis to the podcast. The Bogsi podcast is presenting itself to you today, and I think the first thing we'd like to start off with is the positive feedback of the podcast. We are so happy to hear from you guys. I think I have heard a lot of positive feedback that people like our podcast. I think that's pretty cool. Ritil, what have you heard about the podcast?
same a lot of uh, like a lot of people have personally told me from college and from my society that they have been watching our podcast, and I was not expecting actually that they would actually watch 1.5 and 1 hour podcast. And some of them have even mailed us and even put us. They have even put some comments in the comment box. So we are very overwhelmed by the response that you guys have shown.
Yes, and thank you so much everyone for the support. We'll hopefully keep going and live up to your expectations, right? Two more things that I'd like to surprise you guys and Ritil with this podcast is we'll be introducing a book club very soon. So, which means that I think weekly or perhaps bi weekly or something like that, we'll be talking about our experiences with a particular book. We haven't yet decided which book we want to talk about, since we'll be alternating that book as well between us and perhaps having time to read it and understand it. But we'll surely be discussing books in this podcast because we are really passionate about reading, right? And one more thing which I'd like to surprise Ritil with also today is we are trying to introduce a concept of a story that we can tell at the end of the podcast. So that story can be related or unrelated to the theme of the podcast, but it's like just a personal story that we'd like to share. Because yesterday or in the previous podcast, when you shared the quiz story, I think that story was very entertaining to a lot of people. So if we can do something like that, where we can tell our stories and whatever we find suitable, or maybe your stories if you start mailing them to us if you want to, that would be cool. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people related to my story last time, and it was very amusing to a lot of them. And even I also enjoyed very much sharing it with all of you. So I think it's very novel concept for us as well, and people are going to like it as well. So yeah, what do you have in the surprise bag?
The surprise bag. It's surprise because, as we've told you many times, he doesn't know what I am going to talk about, and I usually don't know what he's going to talk about. Maybe we'll change that when we talk about really serious things. Like, I think in the future, if he comes up with some philosophy that we want to discuss, then maybe I'll do some research on it as well. But we like this concept. We surprise each other with what we're going to talk about, right? So the topic today is multi-rolling in life. So let me introduce you to what multi-rolling means, right? So it's a very famous gaming term actually. So in games, obviously there are various roles inside one game, right? There are people who are tanks, they have huge health bars and they take damage, right? Then we have the damage dealers. So in the same way, in like real life, we have people who choose career options, right? Some people want to be dancers, musicians, some people want to be lawyers, right? So I think I'd like to view it in the same aspect as multi-rolling in real life, which means doing multiple roles at the same time in life, right? And this role play framework, I think it does make sense in a lot of terms in our real life, where whether I think in two major aspects, one is minor versus one is major. Minor being, say for example, your minor thing was to come today to this podcast, right? And another minor thing is you have guests at your house that you have to cater to, right? And your major goal or major role play framework is to become a lawyer and practice your law at the highest level. So I think one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about multi-rolling in life is because it's been something which is affecting me a lot lately, and I think it has been a huge part of my life ever since. So I think I'll start off by perhaps giving the audience a little story about what kind of things that I do and why I consider myself as a multi-roller in life. So I think starting off, one of my primary interests, as far as I can remember, was cricket, right? I spent a lot of my years, around 6 or 7 years at academy, and perhaps training at the highest level with really high profile individuals. We'd sometimes have like Virender Sehwag coming to the academy and perhaps training himself alongside other seniors who were playing for the state and whatever, right? So I used to really have fun with these individuals, and just to see them was very inspiring. At that point, obviously, I thought I'd become a cricketer, right? Then I think around when I was in 8th grade, then I started doing debates, right? Like when my teacher started pushing me into debating, I pushed myself into debating. And since at that particular time, I was not really getting results from cricket, or more or less, I was not getting much opportunities to prove myself, which I really wanted. So I was like, well, when someone in my school is like welcoming me with open arms in this particular field, I might as well do this, right? And then like this huge debating journey began, where in ninth I participated in the national debating competition in Gwalior at the NCSQC, and I lost really miserably. I did really bad, but the fact that I had the opportunity to do bad was enough of contention in itself, because in cricket I didn't even get an opportunity to do bad, right? So I spent months and months to train myself in debating. Then I had the chance to go to Sri Lanka at the International Convention of Students Quality Circles, and that's where my big breakthrough came and I got the first position. So that had never happened to me before, right? And up to that point, what happened, and this change that I like to discuss with you, I think that was the year that I could never get back to the the standard I was in cricket. Like I never could like become the self that I was those many years ago. It wasn't actually a lot of years ago. It was 1 year difference. In 8th standard, I was this great cricketer that perhaps if would have put more effort would have gone somewhere. And then in like around 10th, when I was so interested in debating and I was getting results, I went back to the cricketing ground and I was awful. I was perhaps the worst of anyone I could compare myself at the time. So have you experienced something like this, where you have you've been multi-rolling, but you change or put emphasis on one role, and then you've just lost it in the other role?
Yeah, I've been multifarious on various occasions of my life, but one thing that I've observed about myself is that subconsciously I've been doing minor tasks that actually contribute to a bigger picture. For example, I don't do debating and cricket that are poles apart. They require completely different skill sets. For example, you said a minor job is to be here and do the podcast, and the major job is to be a good lawyer.
Yeah.
But if you notice, there is a link between both of them. What do lawyers? They talk. They talk. They talk very good. Actually, good lawyers need to be good speakers so that they have convincing power to save their client and whatever motive they have in their head. And here, I'm actually practicing my conversational skills with you. I'm actually improving my storytelling skills with and trying to connect with the audience. How hardly can I move them? So I have never found myself in a place where the major and the minor roles that I was playing were in conflict with each other. So I think even if uh, I didn't do well in one of them, I did well in the other one because I learned lessons from the minor roles and applied them on the major role and came out like with flying colors, obviously. Yeah, so my life story is, I don't think, anywhere near yours because you have been doing some really crazy stuff in your life, like cricket also nationals, then debating. Whereas if you see myself, I've been going into quizzes, a lot of quizzes. In my 12th, I went to international quiz and did pretty well. And that program got also aired. So yeah,
We know the story.
yeah. I told the story last time, but the point to be noted is that the quiz actually helped me clear my entrance exams. Through quiz, I made my GK so strong that I could perhaps even clear the GK of IES prelims, because I did GK every single day. I read newspapers every single day. I read a lot of GK books every single day. So my my roles were interconnected. They were never really poles apart. So I can never be at in your shoes and can think like you. But yeah, my take on this is that if you want to do good, you should probably take minor roles that actually contribute to a bigger picture in your life.
Oh, that's really cool. In fact, that's something which we talked about, I think, a while ago. I mean, we talked about these things almost all of the time. There was something that we were talking about that was related to what was happening in our lives on Discord. Like, I think almost every night we do this, right? And this actually reminded me of like a really cool theory that we came up with. So what you just said, right? Your minor goals contributed to your major goal as well, whether it's quiz, whether it's anything. You had a major goal and it was slowly contributing into that particular goal, right? I think what I realized this year, in fact, to be more precise, maybe this month or in the past 2 to 3 months, I won't give it more than that. It's that maybe I actually didn't have the realization capacity to understand that there could be a link between case study and debate, no, or between cricket and debate, that I'm not aware of. So, for example, I had known a certain group of debaters or people that I think they were quite regulars in the competition. Uh, when I like went to Lucknow in like 2019 with you at that particular competition, there when I managed to win, I was still aware of like 2 or 3 people. I knew them and I was like, okay, I know these people. They've debated before. So there is this inherent feeling of like competitiveness, right? This feeling of competition that I need to overcome my opponent to win, obviously. Like in its simplicity, that is what happens in cricket also, right? I mean, there's a batsman and you need to bowl him out. It's as simple as that. And when I used to practice debating in front of this wall or perhaps in front of my mom or like my teachers, the same thing happened in cricket also when I used to bowl and I used to have my coach, my grandfather, who was viewing me from the stands, right? So the thing is, these concepts actually overlap because let's say if you are failing in cricket, right? You're bowling in front of your coach, but you're not doing that well, then the closest solution to it is actually practice a little more. The same thing happens in debate. If you're forgetting the debate itself, the content, the answer is to practice it more. In its core essence, there is nothing else, right? So when I actually didn't have the understanding capacity to differentiate that, oh, maybe there is an overlapping concept. Maybe if, for example, right now when I play League of Legends, I can use that competitiveness and I can use that understanding of the process that failures will come and with eventual practice I will succeed. I could put this into cricket as well, which I absolutely didn't do at that time, right? And there is this thing called the snowball effect, which I think are aware of as well. If something is going bad in some fields, it just gets bigger, worse and worse and worse. So in cricket, since it's a physical sport, it gets worse. If you haven't practiced in a week, in a month, your body will not be accustomed to doing the same things that had become muscle memory to you. Because remember, muscle memory is a concept that is also overlapping in every field of life. Whether it's your ability to study things very quickly and remember them, when you were in quiz, perhaps your ability to disintegrate, okay, this is an important question, this is not an important question, no one will ask what happened 10,000 years ago or whatever, right? the same muscle memory develops in cricket, that at this particular ball I have to do this, I have to raise my hand to this particular extent, right? So my question to you is, like, how is it possible for someone who's watching right now, they haven't experienced a feeling of understanding overlapping concepts? How does someone understand that concepts in life overlap, whether it's the way you talk with your mom, with your dad, to the way you talk to your boss? How does someone build the understanding of overlapping concepts from zero?
I think in its true essence, overlapping concept is basically a biological concept, because what we do again and again and again and again, our body adopts it as a habit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes your character. It becomes an inherent part of you. For example, uh, if you do gym, you do bench press, you do dumbbells, or you do squats, you are actually training your muscles. You will break your muscles, they will then rejoin. Then you will, on that you will eat protein rich food. So what you are actually doing is that you are making your muscles stronger, you are making your muscles used to harsh situations by breaking your muscles, by weightlifting heavy weights. You're actually putting a lot of burden strain on your muscle, and by that process your muscles are getting used to harsh conditions that are not at all ambient, so that you can make your muscle size bigger and stronger. The same thing applies, I think you have rightly said, in every field of life. By doing net practice, you are actually coding your brain to play in a certain way when when a bowler throws a ball in a certain way. When a bowler throws a Yorker ball, how you have to play it perfectly so that you don't get bowled, you don't get catch out, you don't give it to any fielder, and in the most optimum way you can score a boundary. In the same way, uh, when you dance, you practice every day, you're actually coding your brain to remember the steps. They would be subconsciously imbibed in your brain, that when this beat is played, you do a certain step. You don't even have to remember that, yeah, now it's bhangra time, I have to do. It automatically comes out of your, because you have been doing it since childhood. So this is not a social concept that everyone has to know it. I think it's a psychological and a biological concept that you have to practice it over and over, and you have to do it uh, as soon as possible. You can do it if you want to be good at it. Something you should probably, after this podcast, start doing it, so that your body get used to it and you are actually coding your brain to be best at it. So yeah, that's how I see this concept.
And you know what this ties up to? I think when you're saying constantly the fact that expose yourself to to that field, right? Go into the nets and perhaps face those same bowlers, ball differently, or perhaps go to your school and try and study and try and score good marks, whatever it is. I think the whole crux of this is fail more.
Yeah.
As long as, like, we're able to find opportunities to fail more, you'll probably get accustomed to perhaps applying those same concepts elsewhere. Because, for example, say, like in debate, when I actually ended up failing, right? So my initial response was like, okay, well, this is pretty bad. The closest thing that I can come to doing now is either quitting or perhaps trying even harder, right? And this is like the twofold response to every single thing that we do in life. Either it is to quit or do it even harder, right? There is no middle ground. And I think the huge mistake or the blunder that I made in 9th standard was, when I failed in cricket, I didn't come back and try harder. I was like content with, okay, debates are going well, life is good, we're fine. And this is also something which I want to talk about or tie this particular argument to, right? So to those people at multi-role, right? I think there are nowadays a lot of people at multi-role, because what we're saying is a huge trend where accessibility is very common. I think especially in middle class or high class families, everybody has the internet, everybody has either games or a cricket ball or a park or whatever. You have the available things, materials to become better at anything, right? So what happens? Uh, People, as the classic human way, they try and do various things, and they fail at something, and they probably give up. They're like, "Oh fuck, this is so hard. I cannot do this anymore." Right? So here, the whole difference between a person that is a good multi-roller and a bad multi-roller becomes the ability to not give up, right? Because and I think you understand the depth of this, because everybody has access to everything. It doesn't matter that I play League of Legends, you can download League of Legends and probably play it as well. And maybe if I give up, you're the person who's closest to success right now. It doesn't matter how bad you are. है ना? So here is the problem that a lot of people suffer from. These multi-rollers, they tend to give up so easily when one of their roles fails, because their other role is going pretty well. Because in life, it's always like this, right? It's always like a, what do we used to call it, accountancy, BRS, like bank reconciliation. Oh, go this, go this, bring this up, whatever bullshit that teacher used to teach to us, right? So, how does a multi-roller not give up when this situation occurs? Or that not giving up thing, how does it come about?
I think that one thing that they can think of is the ray of hope at the end of the tunnel. Why? Yeah. Why they started at the first place?
Yeah.
What motivated them to begin this journey? I think this is uh, a very important takeaway for multi rollers right now, is that they remember their goal, know why they started. And the other thing is that I've also noticed that if they fail and they tend to give up things, they also get depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get depressed. And when they fail in one task, they subsequently give other task as they start doubting themselves.
Snowballing effect.
Yeah, the snowballing effect that you talked about. They they then come up to that strategy, either my way or highway. Either I get everything or I lose everything. They don't try to minimize their loss. They don't try to go on a perfect path. Rather, there's no perfect path. No one gets on it, but they totally lose track of their journey, and they start doubting themselves. And self doubt is probably the biggest enemy they can have in their life. If they doubt that they are not good in one field, how is it possible that they are also bad in the other field? It makes no sense to me. So this is one therapy that all multi rollers need to have, that they should not doubt themselves at the first place. They should see their light at the end of the tunnel, why they started. And the third thing is that even if they fail in one thing, they should not give up on the other thing, because you never know what's in the end of the tunnel for you. Yeah.
That point of like the light at the end of the tunnel is so cool, because I think the problems that you were told subsequently that these people face, I've faced all of them. Because in cricket, or perhaps in case studies, sometimes I was that person who was like, it's my way or the highway. Because multi rollers, they have a lot of confidence. It doesn't matter whether it's negative confidence or positive confidence, but they think, or it could be ego, I think. They have a lot of ego, because they're like, I'm the person who's doing everything, right? I am in charge of everything. So I'm probably better than the next person sitting next to me, right? And that was what I did. I was the entire time like, listen to me, or you're probably bad, or you don't know what you're saying. I know it better than you. And when you talked about the snowballing effect in terms of depression, right? This was also, I think, something that I wanted to talk about. like this common thread, like people who over index in, like, no wait, this is something else. Just relating to the same thing that you just said, that when these people fail in one thing, it automatically hints hurts their confidence. They feel like losers, and then they're just like, I might as well lose in this other thing as well. And then they get depressed and they feel like from having various purposes in life, they have no purpose in life. Like, it's so weird because, as you just said, right? This is another question that I have for you. So, multi rollers, they have various lights at the end of the tunnel. It's like there's one tunnel, but there are various exits, right? Which means light is actually coming from a lot of places. It's not that like a normal person or a linear person, that this is what I want to do, there is the light at the tunnel, and I'm just gonna go straight, right? To a multi roller, it's like there are 5 different tunnels with maybe 5 different entrances as well, right? So, how does he see light at the end of the tunnel when there is so many lights, right? I mean, is that the is that the password, that there is always something positive going to happen as long as you keep doing something because there are so many lights, or is there a different answer to this?
I think you have not entered into a tunnel. You have entered into a maze then. There are 5 entrances, 5 exits, 5 different lights. This is not a tunnel. Tunnel is a straight way inside a mountain or a water body that takes you from one point or the other. The thing that all the multi rollers have to keep in mind is that, and I'm not the best person to advise on that. See, I have nothing like achieved in my life to give that advice, but since we are here, I have, from whatever little experience that I have garnered over years, what I can tell is that probably different so, probably the different sources of lights that they are viewing are not actually sources of lights. Maybe they are just reflections of life. In the end, the true source of light would be content and happiness. A content mind, a peaceful mind, and happiness, and a satisfied mind that yes, whatever I wanted to do in my life has been achieved. Happiness is a general feeling. We all have that. Even if I do gaming, I get happiness. If I eat tasty food, I get happiness. I score good marks, it's happiness. In the end, the product is same.
Happiness.
Yeah, but the process of getting that product are different. See, we do podcast to vent out our emotions and share it with everyone, and we get happiness. The process of creating a podcast is one thing, but the happiness, the product that we have created, is the same. So I think we have to, in the end, focus on the source of light rather than reflections. Like, I have to do this also, I have to do that also. You do everything, but in the end, make sure that you don't lose anything. Lose in the sense, you don't question yourself in the end, that I could not make it. We have seen that example, where a professor gives you a jar and tells you put some stone, sand, and water in it, and he sets some priorities, that the most important thing should be put first in it. I think it is a very beautiful example of understanding life. The If you put sand first, you think your life is over. You think you don't have time for pebbles, you don't have time for water, you don't have time to put other small things. But if you put big things first, you would find yourself in a very comfortable place. You think that you have achieved major goals also, you have achieved the purpose of your life also. At the same time, you have been a successful multifarious guy. So that's how I visualize that tunnel problem that we have just created. Yeah.
Wow, I think what this tunnel problem actually signifies is that to all multi rollers or even single rollers, like, in the end, the whole point is to be happy, or perhaps live your philosophy in life. Because we talked about Machiavellian philosophy, right? Maybe someone is solely inclined towards the Machiavellian philosophy, so their light at the end of the tunnel is to be a Machiavellian, right? It doesn't matter what things come in between of the tunnel, like what other drivers are present in the tunnel. the whole point is that they get out of the tunnel and they reach the light. So instead of viewing it as a maze, which I actually suggested earlier, it has to be viewed as a one solitary tunnel with the light coming off and its purpose being happiness. I think that's actually really helpful. I think that's a really cool analogy. And to what you just said, actually, the professor example, how the fact or your decisions on the basis of what is more important or more prioritized in your life, basically like guides the shape of that tunnel, right? So like how does a multi-roller himself, being sort of a person who really likes a lot of things, right? So for them, maybe the problem isn't like what is more priority, what is more this or more that. It's like as simple as what brings more happiness. Because it's really difficult when you have like 5 children to choose who is your favorite child, right? It is very difficult to do that. But I think it is possible to have an answer to which child makes you most happy, because they might do some dumb shit, or they might be very funny, or they might listen to you all of the time. So that answer is probably more legible than what is your favorite child. So what do you think, how this transpires to be?
So I actually want a clarification on your question. You
Yeah.
are basically asking how we should like put different priorities and arrange them in a correct sequence. Is that your question? Is that what you are asking me?
uh, I'm asking you is, for a multi-purpose guy, should the basis of priority be happiness? Because favoritism is very difficult.
So I think your question that how a multi-roller should set his priorities and whether the happiness aspect should be the foremost priority of a multi-roller. I think happiness should be a priority of every single person on this planet, not just a multi-roller. It should be single roller, double roller, trip, tri roller, road roller, whatever roller it is. Happiness should be priority for all of us, because if we are unhappy, we are unstable, we are insane, we do things in a unfashioned manner, and that is detrimental not just to our psychology, to our behavior, but also to our health. We get very unhealthy if we are not happy, if we are not very in a stable state of mind. We get like we become a beast if we are not happy in life, you see. So there is no question to that. We should be content and we should be happy, we should be at peace but not at rest, mind you. Because if we are at rest, we don't see ourselves as having a room to improve. uh we become static. Yeah, we become static and we don't move ahead and above in life. So I think being at peace but not at rest at the same time is the greatest takeaway for everyone watching us right now.
I think peace but not at rest is the greatest philosophy that I've come across in general, not only from you, but like you were the one who introduced me to it. Because now I think I use it everywhere now. I mean, it's like whether it's exercising, okay, I'm not really fit, but I'm fine, but more could be done. In every field, this philosophy is applicable, right? So I think this obviously is a really good point. Now I just wanted to sidetrack a bit, and I think we touched this topic a little bit earlier, but perhaps go into depth with it. For example, so we've been talking a lot about multi-rollers and people who do a lot of things in life, a lot of goals, a lot of ambitions. Now there are people who have only one ambition, only one goal. They're very indexed into that goal. They're over-indexed to particularly say, right? Now in sports, when we have the Jordans, we have the Kohlis or such people, they're really good at what they do, right? I mean, they're beasts. Like, and you could possibly ask them, and even through their interviews, they have said that this is all we got. Like, cricket is my life, or basketball is everything that I do, right? Now, the problem with this particular statement or this philosophy is that as humans, we are kind of built to be very adventurous, right? From the start of humanity, we're very adventurous. We like doing a lot of things. right? And when someone who's trying to become one of the greats in their particular field over indexes in that one ambition in their life that they absolutely love, right? The amount of risk or the high risk, high reward becomes true at its absolute sense, right? Because in cricket, we have people, especially in my academy, they have given up everything. Like these people have dropped out of school, college, they don't go anywhere. Their whole purpose is cricket, right? And nothing else. And in itself, this thought as a multi roller, it scares the shit out of me because how can I put my entire life on one particular thing, my whole family on one particular thing? Because at the end of the day, if your family gives you food, you gotta give them something back at some point of time, right? And like the amount of depression or sadness that comes with every subsequent failure when you are only indexed in one particular thing is scary for me as a multi roller. I cannot imagine what these guys face, right? So, what is your opinion on like how these guys live and their singular ambition philosophy?
I don't know about your academy guys, but the names you took like Kohli, Jordan, Federer, they are not just sports people. They are also businessmen. They have huge empires. They are actors. You see them on ads every time. More than I think Shah Rukh Khan, you see Kohli these days on ads. So I think it's not. This is what they say, but this is not actually what they do. They are not actually single rollers. They do everything in their life, and they have made a name for themselves, and they have full right to do that. As far as your academy people are concerned, see, I'm not a cricket guy. I've not played it much. Neither do I know a lot of intricacies about it. But putting everything at stake is not imaginable for me. I don't think they have put everything at stake. I think if they are doing cricket at their back at their home, they are also doing gymming, because gymming contributes to cricket. They will have a better body build up. They would have a better stamina. I think they are also controlling their diet, which is actually making them a healthier person. So by pursuing the goal of cricket, you are achieving several goals: a better body structure, a healthier lifestyle, a better sleep pattern, which should be priority for all of us at this age, a better schedule. They have learned time management, because cricket takes a lot of energy out of you. It sucks a lot. It is a very physical act. So I think they have learnt a lot of skills alongside cricketing. It's not that they have put everything at stake. They have learnt to work hard. They have a lot of things that I cannot even name, because I have not even played cricket that seriously. But from my experience, if you do something with your whole heart, you definitely learn something or the other. It's not that you have put everything at stake and you will lose everything in the end. You will lose your studies, but with something or the other you come out. You have a byproduct of genuine hard work. You always have it.
So basically, you believe that irrespective of the fact that these kids have like dropped out of school, out of college, and they're perhaps at the risk of when they don't get selected, they they won't have a life or they won't have an earning of anything. You still believe that they have a lot of things that they have learned if they have truly followed a process, because obviously if people don't follow like a process which is like basically embracing failures and like understanding depths of things, getting into the details, then they are bound to fail. It doesn't matter whether they're doing one thing or several things. And like I think what you just said, it makes sense, right? Like the Jordans and Kohlis are doing a lot of things now, but the point at which they became their best in their particular fields, like they were not doing anything except what they wanted to do. And that when I say that, it means when they were in academy, when they were learning, or when they were on the stairways to success, right? In that particular time. Now the thing is, environments differ. For some people, it might take 2 years to become the best in the world. For some, it might take 20, and for some, it might never happen, right? When you're climbing that stairway, when you don't have anything else, is over-indexing a correct pathway?
I think when you are climbing the success ladder, I'm even I am doing it, and at the moment I have not put everything at uh, one job. Like it's not that I study law every day. I do a lot of things, but like you said, the same thing, yeah. It's having smaller goals, smaller tasks, diverse tasks connected to a bigger picture. I think that is my point. It's not a very narrow stair that you have to climb. If you take a wrong step, you will fall off the valley. It's a very broad stairway in my imagination. Like you can take rest on it. If you're tired, you can take break. You can change lanes. But in the end, you have to like be on the top of the mountain. That's how I imagine it. It's not a very small, like we have generally see in mountains. Like you would fall if you do this, if you take a wrong step. I think nobody is putting everything at stake. Even if we think that we are assiduously working towards it, subconsciously we are doing other tasks as well. We are learning life skills. It's not just we are doing cricket. It's not just we are doing law. We are, for example, if I study law, it's not just I'm studying law for the court. It's also I'm learning human behavior. I know a particular incident that has happened in the past, and the same can happen in a future event. A particular case that is currently happening, I'm studying it. That I can encounter in future as well. And studying that case right now might help me in future. So it's not like if you put everything at stake, you're losing everything. In the future, it might help. That skill might get used. You never know which weapon might be used at which point of time.
All of that is linked to what we said a while ago, which is that basically, if you are like truly following something, and if you're truly following the process of failing a lot of times, and perhaps a process where you are trying to cover up the faults or the weaknesses in your body or in your lifestyle, then you're probably going the right way and you'll probably reach somewhere that is positive. Right now, to come to the next phase of this particular discussion is a lot of things that pan or tie on to people who multi-role is time, right? Time is basically something which no one can control. It doesn't matter whether you're whether you're a boss or a CEO of a company or you're a beggar, you cannot control time, right? And as the days basically pass, you either witness that you're contributing a lot of time to something or you're not. I mean, there's a statement that I've heard a lot of times is that if you truly love something, you'll make time. Like I'm really amazed by this statement because I'm not sure how true or how false it is, but like it indexes or it points to the direction that it doesn't matter how busy you are, if you if you like something enough, you will make time for it. What is your opinion on this philosophy?
Uh, if we truly love something, we would automatically find for it is uh, very relevant, and it's true. I 100% agree with you. When you do something you like, you don't actually feel like you're doing something. Time flows by very quickly, and you find out that you are actually done. Everything has been done. You want to do more. You are left with no time. You are actually craving for that work. So it feels it is a very positive emotion that you experience inside you. So yes, no doubt to that. Some things you love, you can do it again and again, over and over for your entire life till your deathbed. Yeah. For example, I heard Elon Musk in a talk show that he sometimes sleeps in his factory so that he can save his time to work, travel time to work, because he doesn't want to waste in his time in petty things, traveling or partying with friends or chilling. Uh, he just wants to be around his workplace, yeah, so that he can keep a track record of whatever he's doing. And yeah, we see that that pays him very well. That this works for him. He's the richest guy on this planet, around 250 billion as we speak. $250 billion. He sits on the mountain of $250 billion bills. So yeah, that's truly acceptable to me. That if you do time, you if you do something that you like, you actually experience time flow by very quickly of in a snap, and you are left with nothing but a lot of productive hours that you have spent.
Uh, I'd probably want to like use that analogy to like call my own bullshit over here. So like, I've been like struggling a lot. I think even in the previous podcast we sort of hinted about it, about like sleep issues, right? I want to wake up at 7 or 7:30, but in the end I hardly manage to. I think I wake up at around 8 or 8:30 or 9 sometimes. And I think that is kind of late for me, because then everything is just elongated, or like everything is just shifted by 2 hours, right? Attending classes is kind of shit. I mean, I don't attend any classes basically. but 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 the fact is that the thing that I wake up and do is play League, right? And I love doing it. But like, is the fact that I can't wake up on time to play League signify that I don't like League? Because I don't know the relevancy of that statement. I mean, I do like League. So maybe is the reason uh, that I have a lot of time in the day, and even if something gets pushed by 2 hours, it doesn't make a difference because we don't have to go to college right now. So what do you think is affecting this particular situation?
I have no doubt to the fact that you love League, but your body loves your sleep more. It's not, you consciously believe that you love sleep, but your body craves sleep. We all enjoy uh, that state of being when we are sleeping on a cozy bed in a blanket in winters, and we don't want to get up. And I'm the last guy on this planet to ask this question to, because I'm not a very disciplined guy in life in general. The only time I wake up early is when a sword is hanging above my head. Like,
Your mother
yeah, mother or father. If I have to impress my parents to get something, or if I have to protect myself from not getting beaten up by my parents, you keep sleeping. What is this behavior? What will you do in life? If I have to if I have to wake up early, it's the only scenario is that I have a very troubled times, and that is the only time when I wake up early. So in general, I am also not a very disciplined guy. But let me confess it in front of everyone that when I was preparing for my entrances, I did wake up like as early as 4 or 5. Genuinely, I woke up. But since then, I've been sleeping till 11 or 12, and I go to bed sometimes at 5 or 6, and that is very wrong. That is very wrong. Because my body clock has been distorted completely. So I am the wrong guy to advise, and it would be very hypocritical of me to comment on this sleep issue that like every uh, Gen Z and millennial is having these days.
I mean, your thing that you just said, that every Gen Z and millennial is having this issue these days, it's the reason why I'm asking it from you, because everybody has been having this issue. It's like it doesn't matter who I ask this question to, right? So okay, let's actually take something from when you actually woke up at 5, right? In your CLAT preparation days. I think you know what the play is at here. There is a clock that was ticking. Yeah, right. There is there is a timer that is going off slowly to your CLAT day, right? And there is no timer for me right now. It's like I don't have to do anything the whole day. I want to do exercise in the evening. I can do it fucking at 8 8 p.m. instead of 7 p.m. Who cares? But when I'm called to go to college, right? When the gates of the college will close at 9, it means I have to wake up at 4 to play League. Otherwise, I'm fucked. There is nothing else I can do, right? And if I take a holiday from DU, okay, it's fine. I go like under 75% attendance in offline, then I'm fucked also, right?
I think you have answered your problem yourself. You know the truth. Now you know why you are not getting up early. So I think we all know. As I said, when you have a sword hanging up on above your head, you do things rightly. You wake up early. I think you have answered it pretty well. You have summarized the crux of the problem.
But I don't have a sword hanging over. How do I make a sword to hang over my head? Like the whole thing is, if I can wake up at 4, if I can wake up at 5, there is a slight possibility, not a major possibility, there is a slight possibility that I can get more games in, or I can get more high quality games in. So what do I do?
I think in the initial period of the podcast, we discussed that what was that problem? Wiring problem, coding,
Yeah.
practicing over and over. I think you need to set an alarm and wake up every single day at a time that you desire to. And you should not break that chain like I did after my exam.
Yeah.
That was very detrimental for me to distort my sleep order.
Yeah.
If you are determined to wake up every day at 4, then you should make sure that you wake up at 4 every day, even if you don't have any sword hanging above your head. Don't get chilled out, don't get complacent. Now I have rank 1 in league. Now I can wake up anytime I want. I don't have college. Now I can wake up every time. You should not come up with that excuse. Uh, like you have to train your brain, practice over and over to get up on a desired time of the day. So yes, the solution is again the same. Even either have a hanging sword above your head, or train your brain in such a fashion so that your body doesn't require sleep after that time, because your body automatically wakes up from bed and you get to work.
That's really hard. That's so hard to do. It's like it's the opposite of the gravity in which you are telling me to do it. It's like it sounds very easy, but it's actually deadly.
I'm the biggest hypocrite right now.
Yeah,
because
right.
even
I understand. You admitted it before. So maybe I guess the closest solution is to go to sleep early. And just fucking go to sleep early.
I have tried it.
You have tried it. But how? I cannot sleep for 14 hours. That is impossible.
So who is telling you to go to bed at 6 in the evening? Only then you will be sleeping 14 hours.
I
Or
know.
at 5 in the evening.
It is. I think I slept earlier by 1 hour yesterday. So I think maybe one more hour today, and eventually things will go right. Because I think it's so hard to create a sword. To create a sword on your head, everybody just either does well under pressure or they don't. It's as simple as that. And I know that I do, so perhaps I have to give some time to this thing. Right now, we ascend to the last section of the podcast, who some people might find very entertaining, especially those people who know us personally, right? Some Bogsis that have been with us along the way.
The true Bogsis.
The true Bogsis.
Bogsis.
Yes. Okay. So the story today is, I think it's related to the theme. So it's the story of debate and case study in the year of 2019 AD. Anno Domini. And okay, I'll explain how all of this started, right? So I was the one who. Okay, we'll have inputs of Ritil and Ronak also in this story. I think there are a lot of stories in Lucknow itself that I could elaborate on. This is the particular one that I'll elaborate on right now. So I was the one who convinced, I think, Ritil and Ronak to go to Lucknow, right? I think Ronak was willing to go first, or was it both of you who? No one was willing to. Basically, they just thought it was a stupid trip, and that it was class 12. So
we should spend that time in studying for boards.
exactly, like they would not spend any time in studying for boards, and luckily they realized that they would not spend any time, so they decided to accompany me in the death route. So
Rather, it was a life route, I would say.
yeah, it became a life route, but for you in quiz it was a death route. That you have to. You learned a lot. Or so shall you display. Yeah. So yeah. So in debate itself, we had Rashmi ma'am, who was responsible for everything pertaining to debate, right? And we had Aripnam who was guiding me from the top, and we had also these two morons who would who these stalwarts who stalwart. So they would also sometimes witness the debates going on. And I think in debate what happened was, so in case study we were trying to create a revolution. We were like the Che Guevara in the Cuba and I was the Fidel Castro. We were the leading the communist revolution against the school. So we were basically trashing all the concepts that we had studied up until this that point, and we were creating a revolution, right? We were creating new concepts that we would present in the case study, and obviously everyone was against us, and I got very sad at certain points of time. I was like, I mean, you could see it on my face. Like, did you ever witness like me being very sad when you didn't like admit it, or what happened? Like, what was your opinion on me during the practice sessions?
I totally understood your position. And I even encountered you venting out your anger on Mr. Anak Jasuja. Ravya, can you please narrate that scene once again for our audience?
So, what happened was, I was working my ass off inside the computer room, right? These two idiots were sitting outside the computer room alongside some girls, and they were having fun, right? So I am working my ass off, right? I am at the worst of my mental capacity. I am about to go boom. And when the work is sort of finished, it's not finished. I go out and I see these hooligans who are partying outside. They're not partying.
Let me clarify. I was the one studying for quiz. It was Ronak Jasuja who was partying out and chilling. I was the one studying for quiz inside computer lab because my quizzes were uploaded online on the computer. So I was there. I was meant to be there. It was Ronak who was like bunking from case study and in the computer lab chatting with me.
Yeah, and Ronak was in case study. Ritil was not in case study. So what happened was, I went there and I saw that hooligan basically having fun and being the idiot that he is, right? So what I said to him, I came inside. I was like, हम पागल बैठे हैं वहाँ पे हम काम करते रहे, आप सारा दिन यहाँ पे अपनी बकवास चलाते रहो. And I gave him a 10-minute speech about how like a boss gives, right? And I barged into that. I didn't come into that. I barged into that room. Like धाड़, and I was like, हम पागल हैं यहाँ पे, हम वहाँ काम करते रहते हैं, यहाँ बकवास करते रहते हो. And and he was laughing, right? But this just gives a picture of how irritated I was through the entire experience, right? And in the debate area of this particular thing, right? So I had Rachel alongside me, who was a really good debater as well. But obviously, like, I think I had a little bit more experience than her. So she had to go through the processes of interjection, right? You do know about, he's really good at interjection. In fact, he was one of the reasons why we won in case study. I'll tell that story maybe someday other, right? And everything was so hard. I think this was where multi-rolling became the worst for me. Like, I mean, worst being mentally, how mentally taxing multi-rolling is, right? So I would spend hours in case study. When I go home, I wouldn't think of studying or whatever, and just think of case study. And I think when we basically went there, right, I'll tell the experiences of, well, actually, I think, should I tell the experience of both the things or one of the things?
Which one?
I think I'll just fucking go ahead. So basically, in preparation, the team was decent. I wouldn't say they were very good, but I think one or two people were very good. Ronak was pretty good. And I had a hint we were going to win. I didn't think so that we were going to win because of how good the other teams were. But in the competition itself, when we were standing on the stage, like, Ronak being the classic idiot he's shouting inside the camera, inside the microphone, as if he's like the leader of BJP or anything like that. And it was so, like, it hurt my brain seeing his voice at such a high volume. And I knew he was doing it intentionally. I mean, not intentionally, I guess. I knew he was so stupid that he wouldn't realize how loud he is. And then I would see some teacher in the audience, like, shut up, you idiot. Lower it down, lower it down. And he lowered it down, right? And the case study finished. After that, Ritil, would you like to tell the story of the interjection part of the case study?
Yeah, I don't like to blow my own trumpet, you see. So you do all the praises for me.
Okay. It's not only your praise, it's also my praise. I also did something. I was the Ricky Ponting to Michael Clark. I gave him the batting order and then he made.
I will do your praise. Then.
Okay,
You
then
do my. Okay, I'll do the Ricky Ponting
Yeah, that's
part.
fine, yeah.
So as soon as their turn was over, I was sitting in the audience, probably in the second row before, after, just behind the judges. Nipun came and sat alongside me.
We were sitting, I think, let us
Yeah.
imitate how we were sitting.
Yeah,
We
we were
kind of
like
sitting
sitting
like
like the Modi
Yeah,
and
like
Amit
this.
Shah.
Like this.
Modi and Amit Shah. So Nipun came alongside me and stood very, like, sat very close to me. And there was some Sri Lankan team that was presenting. I don't remember which country it was from. And they were the probably the
Was it the Indian team or the Sri Lanka?
I don't remember. It was
Were
I
they
think
good? If
no
they were good, then
yeah, I think they were pretty okay, but they could have won. They could have
Indian team, that was the
yeah,
Indian team.
they could have won if they hadn't like done bad in the interjection part.
Yeah, yeah.
So Nipun
They
came.
hadn't faced us.
Yeah, if they hadn't, of course, if they hadn't faced me, the Harvey Specter of
Yeah, the bike rolls.
yeah. So actually, their topic of case study was girl child empowerment, women empowerment, something like women. So Nipun came close to me and said that you go to, like, he made me an inmate of the school only, and nobody realized that I am from their side, because nobody realized, because I was not in the case study. So he came close to me and he said in my ears, and didn't even tell anyone from the school, from us team, that Ritil is going to interject them. Ritil, take out some questions from your goodie bag. Take out some questions. आज इनकी धज्जियाँ उड़ानी है.
This is what I said.
Yeah. आज इनका बैंड बजाना है. और and the scene was that they were presenting the case study in a very good manner, and they could be like the possible winners of the case study, but the only place where they destroyed their all the hard work of months was that interjection point. Now please do my praises.
So, I think the whole plan was, in my mind, it was that it is not it is less of the question sometimes that is being asked. It's about who is asking the question and how is he asking the question. And at that moment, I think no one in my team was capable of asking a question that would intimidate the enemy. The whole point of the question was to intimidate the enemy, right? Even the host was intimidated because of the way, like, I think I asked one question and he asked one question, and or something. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this. Thank you for reminding. Yeah, I'll say that. Yeah. So, I think one was a Modi question, right? Yeah. So what the question was, we were sure they would know about this because nobody makes the effort to know the details. We were the only ones in the whole event that knew the details. So, as Ritil, okay, what do you think? What could we possibly ask them? And he was like, I just saw a picture of Narendra Modi over there. We have to ask something linked to Narendra Modi. And he also suggested that maybe we can ask them what schemes he has actually launched for women empowerment, right? So I was like, okay, let's go. I think that was a Khelo India. They had also introduced Khelo India and sports, how they were promoting women's sports in their particular school, right? So Ritil goes forward and he asks the question, okay, you have shown the picture of the dearest Prime Minister, of the respected Prime Minister Narendra Modi in your presentation. Now, can you tell me a few schemes that were launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the benefit of women in the Khelo India scheme that you showed, right? And we had discussed that these were the schemes. If they put the question on you, just blast off your information on them.
I think they answered the first
Yeah. What was the other question? What was the second question?
I think they named the scheme,
Yeah.
they didn't know what that scheme actually was.
Yeah. So I actually don't even think they named the scheme. I don't know.
Answered
They answered something, but it wasn't anything that was close to the answer we needed, right? And you can only ask one question in interjection. Ritil just said chain question. This is the chain question.
The host came. He was a teacher of that school, and he asked me to back off. He said, "You go, over. Your time is over. You can ask only." I said, "No. How is it possible? How can you say so?" I said, "It is a chain question, and I must ask this for the clarity of audience and understanding of judges." And judges just sitting. They were some foreigners, like they're from Turkey or something. The judges had come. They were Nepal, yeah, and they were some case study experts. So like judges were very like very impressed, and they said, "Yeah, go on, ask your question." And they totally fumbled up, and they totally like lost all their chances of winning the case study. And I think that like yeah, that gave me a boost of confidence. Yeah, like yeah, I am the player. I owe this stage. Yeah. So I was very pumped up, and I went back to the strategist Nipun Gaur. I said, yeah, this was a very good strategy, because earlier I was very reluctant to participate because I had nothing to do with the case study, and I think even if I do, what change would it actually make? But then I realized it's not about you getting up; it's also about you pulling others down.
Yeah. That is a single most strategy I have ever prided myself upon when I pushed him to basically go and ask that question. Because that was so cool. It's like at that moment, who would expect you asking any random member of your team with such a responsibility? Right? Because I mean imagine, I know the team would have felt bad because they would expect me to give the question to them, right? They've trained for months. But I knew they were not capable of doing this. Yeah, and we planned this. And I think I also asked a question later on to some other team. He also asked a question to some other team as well. But at that time, the damage was done. The damage was done. The collateral damage was done. And this just shows that we are willing to go at any extent to win. Machiavellianism.
This is the true example of Machiavellianism. If you haven't seen the second episode, go check it out.
Yeah.
You would know the details, every intricacy of Machiavellianism in the second episode that we have created, and it is must watch if you want to like tear apart anyone in your life.
Yep, I'll give him that. That is a legendary philosophy. And also wait, what else? Yeah, for example, Ronak, right? So Ronak did very well in the case study, right? But there was a point where he offended me a lot. He was intermingling with people of the other teams. He was talking with them.
At that point, when the work was not even over.
Yeah, the competition is not over. See, this is my philosophy when it comes to competitiveness. If it takes for me to perhaps do anything that is a little bit towards the illegal part, but not entirely illegal, to win, I'll do it. Whether it's sledging, whether it's anything else. Because I mean, yeah, sorry, we were talking about the greatest Ronak Jasuja, right? So, the simple, my competitive philosophy, it's like whether it's cricket, because you know what happened a week ago? I was bowling and I was absolutely horrible at bowling that day, right? I was pitching full toss and they were smacking me all around. And the thing that I did was I went up to the batsman and I was like, in some other ground, this is out. Or like, well, if this was a match, you're out. And then he was like, what? This bullshit that you're saying. So I'm trying to get into his brain, right? Now, Rona, what he was doing was he was talking with other teams and he was trying to have a funny atmosphere or a less cooperative atmosphere. I hated that. Because at that moment, I just wanted to rip apart the lives of my enemy particular team, right? I mean, come on, that is how you win. I don't understand how people expect to win being in hand in hand or joining hands to perhaps achieve victory. Victory has to be physical and mental, right? So what happened was in the end we obviously ended up winning. Now I think a large part of the case study victory is contributed to this guy, and rightfully so. I think that was a good decision. So second part of this discussion being about the debate, right? What happened? Were you in the debate room he was in debate room. So right, we were sitting together, and we were also discussing how the not as much, because I was a little bit more under pressure than case study, because debate is just you against the world at the end of the day, right? So we were discussing how the other speeches were going and our opinions on them. Did we even? I haven't. Oh, actually, to this, I have a philosophy to never ask questions in a conventional debate before my turn comes. I don't know. I just feel I feel pressured, because it's like, you know what? Like, it's, you haven't shown your moves or like your power to someone else, and then you're trying to challenge their power. I don't like this analogy. It's like, either you be the best, you do your best, and then you try and bring others down so they can never reach your level. It's less about someone is at the top and then you're trying to drag them down, because our case study was done when I gave you the like the questions, and we can ask, or we discussed on that. So in debate, I didn't ask anyone anything. I don't think so anyone was either too good enough. But what happened was, after every debate, there was like this huge fish market. Like, everybody was raising hands and asking questions. Well, yeah, literally a stock market. Like my house at 8 a.m. It was a New York Stock Exchange, right? And we were raising hands or whatever. I was a little nervous. I was like, are these people going to ask so many questions? And when I came on the stage, this being my like second time at an international event, when I had won the first, I had a bit of confidence. And when my speech was over, no one asked any question. And that was the feeling, that was the best feeling I've ever felt in my debating life. The feeling when you have done so well that they're literally looking at your face like they're eggs or something. No one dares to. They didn't even have a question for me. And I had a different philosophy to answering questions. For me, if you want to answer a question in front of the public, it has to be a question that is more relevant and informative rather than offensive. If you're trying to answer a question in a way that it berates your enemy, it's wrong.
Just for the sake of asking question, don't ask.
Don't ask any questions, right? So the way I would answer questions would be the way we are talking in the podcast right now. That is the way I would answer questions, because I want the person who's asking the question to be educated. That is the bullshit that happens in Delhi University debates, right? They want to berate you. They want to destroy everything that you stand for. And yet they're idiots when it comes to knowledge, right?
I heard one of your like debaters, and he said that, what was that? He said something about Manusmriti. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
What did he say? Something. It was like it didn't even make sense, and he was so proud of his debating skills. But the basic fallacy in his entire debate was that he didn't have his facts cleared. Like, what's the point of doing debate when you don't know what you're speaking about? Like, you have that vocabulary, you have that fluency, you have that pace, you have that diction, but it doesn't make sense as long as your facts, your knowledge is not correct.
Yeah, and facts and knowledge is so important, because not only does it put others in place, it sometimes puts you in place. You know what you're talking about, right? So coming back to the school conventional debating type of thingy, no one asked me any questions, and in the end, the judge had to ask me a question. And I think always a judge asking you a question is easier than a student asking you questions, because students want you to lose. Judges sometimes want you to win. If they think you're good enough, they want you to win. So I was able to like ease through that particular question, right? And I think that experience, it taught me, right now when I introspect on it, it taught me how hard multi-rolling is, but at the same time, if done well, how the benefits are enormous, right? And I think that was perhaps the coolest time of my life, as I would often think of myself as a celebrity when it comes to debating, because it was less of, this argument and shouting. It was, I think, a way of expressing eloquency. It was not, because I think if you're a debater, you're listening to this podcast, you want to win, just educate yourself first, then educate others, and don't try and berate anybody. Don't try and destroy the lives of the other debaters, as long as you're not a person who is educated to the highest extent. That is how you win debates. You win debates with information and not blasphemy. And wait, what was that famous word we used to use when someone used to shout and in the political rallies and people are shouting? What is that word that we used to use? How can you forget that word? Oh, how do you not know that word? Yes, let go. Jingoism will do, I think. Jingoism or whatever. Pugnacity. So, yep, I believe that is how you win debates, and that was my personal experience in these two particular fields. A lot of stories that we'll tell in the future episodes are maybe going to be linked with Lucknow.
Maybe or even not.
Maybe not. Who knows? But a lot of cool things happened. A lot of cool things happened in our lives at that particular trip, right?
Yeah, so I think
Yep, that's it for me and for us for this particular podcast. And I think you might have noticed a change in the camera.
yeah,
I-
picture quality.
Better picture quality, hopefully. Quality. Better picture quality. And hopefully this sustains.
Yeah.
And we'll be giving you the information
Yeah,
about
as we promised, we have got a better camera now. Yeah, we have made investment now. But yeah, we haven't seen that much kind of appreciation from you guys. So
Yeah.
please, this is not good.
Please send us questions on the thebogsipodcast at gmail.com. It makes me sad how that entire email has only one email, which is from Gmail. Thank you for creating your account. It is absolutely depressing, right? So to make us happy, just send one question, any question. Feedback, call us idiots, call us people who don't know anything, yet sit a podcast for 1 hour, right? Anything. We'll accept it, and we'll fortunately have something to talk about. We'll give you the information about the book club and the future episodes. Maybe you'll join us. And signing off. Thank you so much, Bogsis, for joining us at the Bogsi podcast.